Floodgates are open against sexual harassment now. There are 300 sexual assaults allegations against director James Toback, 7 against Game Change author and DC insider Mark Halperin. Both of them are denying it. But now Ellen DeGeneres is catching some heat for tweeting this picture for Katy Perry's birthday with the message, "It's time to bring out the big balloons." Now, people are asking, if a guy did that, would we be okay with it?
Okay, well, first of all, that's a play off some of her lyrics in a song, just to, and as you can see from the faces in the picture, they're all laughing at the joke. So I think it's important not to confuse a moment among people that are comfortable with power plays and using sexual acts for favors. But I do have a bit of a double standard on this because Ellen and Portia are gay, and this is the reason. I think it's more important that people that are gay are normalized, and you see they're just like us and they're everywhere, because there are a lot of places in the world where if you don't know a friend or you don't have someone you know, maybe you only see it on your social media feed. And just like it's important to see healthy body image because we are feeding our brains constantly all day long, I think it's important for people that don't have much diversity where they live to see this is okay, this is normal. I mean, I happen to be close to the issue because my brother's gay, but I think it's really important that the good in this picture is more important than anything I see as, yes, if a guy was lecherous and said nice, you know, then it would be gross. But this picture to me does more good than bad.
Well, but like you said, I think it's important to note that all 3 of them were in it together. All three of them are friends. This isn't like you're not feeling intimidated or assaulted by my particular actions. So I don't think you can necessarily use that argument that if a guy were to do this, everyone would be offended. Because if a guy were to do that, I would feel intimidated. I would feel like, I don't want you to do that.
Guys, if you have a relationship and it's funny and you're in a group and you're laughing and you're making a play on some of my lyrics, there's still a way a guy
You have lyrics?
I don't sing.
I don't know that I wouldn't like it. I think if a guy did this, I think we would all be up in arms given the current environment where we are finally, as women, coming forward and talking about sexual harassment and sexual assault. I just never think that sexualizing and objectifying a woman is ever funny. That's just my view. But so I wonder.
Don't like this.
I don't like it
either, because I've had this done to me before. Where I mean, I'm not a skinny girl, and I've had really big boobs since I was 15.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people think that like it's a party trick of some kind, and I've literally had to tell people like, please don't take. I remember a really good friend of mine took a picture like that on my birthday, and I was like, can we not like make a face like this when I'm like holding a martini and wearing a low-cut dress?
Sexualizing.
If you're okay with it, if Katy Perry's like, whatever, I'm a pop star, I'm okay with this, fine, whatever. But just like, I think anytime when you're talking about women's bodies, especially right now, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they're gay or not gay. I think there's such hypersensitivity right now, and for me, I'm relieved that we're finally having these conversations, that so many things that are open secrets in the industry. I mean, Mark Halperin is a very well-known political journalist. He wrote Game Change about my father's campaign, which was turned into an HBO movie. I believe he won a Golden Globe Award. These are people who are commanding the narrative of all forms of media. So I'm happy we're finally calling them out and finally, you know, these alleged accusations. But I'm glad men who maybe behave a certain way should know that we are at a tipping point right now, and you better start behaving like the gentleman I hope your mother raised you to be.
Exactly.
And if not, corporate culture needs to start getting involved. I mean, I was thinking, do men need to be trained to act like decent human beings in the workplace? Is that where we're at?
Some of it should come more naturally. But I think the important part, too, is this was posted on social media, because typically predatory behavior and assault and everything is when you get someone by themselves, and silence is the ammo. So the idea that this was put out into the ether...
It might just be, it's bad timing.
It's bad timing.
It's bad timing.
Bad timing.
Poor taste and
Because
bad timing.
we know Ellen, we all know Ellen, and, you know, she's... what we're talking about and what she's doing is 2 separate things. But I think people were saying, if a guy, if they knew the gentleman, if it was a guy, and this was put out, would we have a different standard? And it seems like we're split. Maybe we would, maybe we're not sure. But I think the most important thing here is that women have now made it dangerous for men to behave that way. It is now, there's a danger of you losing everything. And that's what it takes.
And finally.
Well, yeah, because women got together and say, you know what? We don't have, what are we doing? We don't have to take that. What the hell? And, you know, and I also want to say, there will be times when there will be mistakes made.
Yeah.
And so we have to also be very diligent so we're not sucking up everybody into this. We need to make sure we're really diligent about this because we really only want to stop anybody who thinks this behavior is okay.
Yeah.
This behavior could now cost you everything, everything.
Yes. And it should have always been that way. I mean, if you think about it, a federal judge ruled in 1977 that this kind of behavior was illegal. So it's been 30 years, and we are still talking about it. I mean, Anita Hill, I think that was a watershed moment. Everyone's like, we are really gonna, you know, women are not gonna be sexually harassed in the workplace. That was a long time ago,
Remember
and now
when you
it
said
still
about,
continues.
Megan, that you wish someone had warned you in certain situations if there had been allegations against someone and you sat down with them.
Yes.
In one of these allegations against the director Toback, when the girl came home and said to the agent that was really uncomfortable, he said, yeah, I've heard that story before. Why would you send someone in to a situation you're aware of the mistreatment?
There
But I
be
do think what you're
culpability for
saying about,
corporations.
like, the picture with social media, I agree it's really bad timing. I don't like it. But there's a big difference between a photo on social media and sexually assaulting a woman in a hotel room. And I think we're blanketing it too much into one thing. It is not the same thing at all. And I do agree with you that we really need to start, you know, at least analyzing it a little bit more.
And also, I'd like not putting yourself in those type of situations as well. I have a friend of mine that came up to me regarding this director Toback, and she said he came on to me at a grocery store. She'd never met him before. He gave her his business card, and so she called him up. You know, he said, "Oh, I want to make you a star." She called him up.
That's a telltale sign.
No,
right
but
there.
in the phone call, he says, "I really need to, you know, get to know you on every level, on a sexual level." And she's like, "Okay, goodbye." So she knew right there. She cut off any sort of contact with him. She wasn't going to put herself in that type of situation.
You know, there is no upside to getting your integrity, offering and allowing somebody to take your integrity. There's no upside to that because you will not feel good in 5 years. You will always have that in the back of your head. Sometimes stuff takes, I said this before, sometimes it takes a little longer, but I'm telling you, when it's you and you did it yourself, nobody can take that from you. Nobody can point and say, well, you only got that because. I'm just saying. We'll be right back.